Arcade racing games are always something that have interested me. Ever since I first played the original Star Wars pod racing on my dad's old PC, I've been in love with the fast-paced competitive racing that the genre has offered. Now I play a lot of racing games, but it's hard to find good racing arcade-style games. There are a few, but I want to talk about one of the biggest. And no, it's not Daytona USA, it's Midnight Wangan. Wangan was a comic made by the same company that made Initial D. The magazine it aired on was called Young Magazine. These two mangas are set in the same universe. Although the Wangan series came out in 1990, Initial D started in 1995. The Wangan manga ended with 42 books in early 2008, and the arcade game that came out was very similar to the Initial D one. All these mangas around this time were based on the JDM cars that came out, Japanese domestic market. What I'm talking about is of course straight 6 twin turbo beasts like the Nissan GTR and the Toyota Supra. They hailed as classics. The story of Wangan is actually based off real events that would happen in Japan. During the early reign of the Japanese sports cars in the early 90s, there was a street racing community. They would race down the Shunto Expressway, or as it was called, the Bayshore Route, or Wangan. It's a long stretch of road between Kyobashi Exit in Chiyo, Tokyo. This group was called the Midnight Club. Hey, wasn't that a game as well? Well, yes. Due to the infamy, several enterprise companies used the likeness of this group and road. It can be found in Shatuku Battle and Gran Turismo, but the game called Midnight Club only shares the name and not the road. The comic is based off this road and group. The goal of these street races? To get there as fast as possible, getting to 300 or 320 kilometers an hour. On the same topic, Initial D is actually based off street races that were drifting up and down Mount Akina. These street races would indulge in both speed and style. When mixing these two up, you get a hell of a good time. So the arcade game takes elements of both, the real life inspiration to create Wangan Midnight. So, the story. The anime follows Akio Asakura, driving a Nissan Fairlane Z, the Z31, on the Shunto Expressway, and a doctor challenges him in a black Porsche 964, dubbed Blackbird. Akio attempts to win, but fails. He is determined to drive the fastest car, so he goes to a junkyard and finds a scrappy S300Z. He remembers seeing a similar car, so he convinces the owner of the junkyard to sell it to him. But the junkyard owner knows. He was told to scrap the car because it was cursed. Akio finds the car is unnaturally fast, with a tuned L28 engine, bored and stroked to 3.1 litres, fitted with a triple carburetor and a twin turbo. He then finds that one of the previous owners were killed in a horrible crash on the Wangan a few years ago. Everyone who takes possession of the Z ends up spinning out of control and crashing, dubbing the car the elusive title of Devil Z. That's the bulk of the story, and it follows Akio and his encounters along the way. Well, the arcade game has a story too. The story, well, you play as yourself, a newcomer to the Wangan scene, and you want to drive the fastest car on the road. It's a pretty basic story, but it has some amazing dialogue that you can read along while playing to get more of a grasp. While Wangan plays like any other racing game, you pick a car from a roster, and for every story mission you play, you get points to boost either handling or power. At a certain point it doesn't matter what you pick, because you can modify to have a higher horsepower or higher grip for every level. Modifying your car's cosmetics is different again. This is an online arcade game. Now it's sort of a waste, because cosmetics don't do anything, but everyone likes a nice looking car, so you have time trials and online ghosts. Depending on your story progress, it'll put you in a pre-selected category equal to your horsepower. By winning, you will get money and points, and your car has levels. Each level gives you different items for the specific car, and all the money is shared throughout your account. Now, you have a card that holds your info. You take it to a booth and you can enter online events and modify your car from there. And now last, we have the versus mode. Anytime you play on these machines, there is an accept versus mode. The linked play system is pretty fun. If you're in the middle of a story mission or a time trial and you have the accept versus on, anyone can compete against you. They might have a better car than you, so this is where the competitive aspect comes in. A wide range of levels, a good soundtrack and even good visuals always helps to make this game so addictive. But Teapot, what if I'm too lazy to get out of my house or don't have an arcade with Wangan near me? Well, Steam actually has some pretty great arcade alternatives that I've been playing myself. And depending on what kind of racer you are, there's always something to tickle your fancy. The first one is RiffRacer. You use your own music to make the levels. You have to drift, avoid targets, and take jumps to increase your score. With a sort of 80s style that a lot of people enjoy, it's got something for everyone. I must say, on the day that I bought it, I lost track of time and was playing until 1 AM. Of course, being able to choose your music to play, anything goes, and it's hard to have an online leaderboard, right? That's where you're wrong. See, every song has a BPM and a waveform. The game can detect that. It doesn't matter if it's the actual song off the album or ripped off YouTube. It knows what song you pick. And for the cheap price tag, it's worth it. I've had so much fun finding 5-star songs or amazing songs that work so well with the game's system. The songs I would suggest include Flamingo,
if you're multicolored, that's cool too. You don't need to change. It's boring being the same. Flamingo. You're pretty either way.
Through the Fire and the Flames, and even Bend the Knee.
Bend the knee, call you Jon Snow. Bend the knee, call you Jon Snow.
Anything works, and it can be amazing to mess around with how different genres and BPMs can make a level so different. Oh, and Initial D songs? They're so great. Not so certain on trap. Another game that can follow in Midnight Wangan's step, that's more of a port, is Fast Beat Loopback. And for a Japanese bootleg of Wangan, it's pretty damn good. It's got small critiques, pretty damn glitchy, not many cars, no customization, sloppy control, and bullshit physics. Kind of feels like a waste of money, but I digress. It's so close to the feel of Wangan that I really can't complain. A very limited, bare-bone arcade game, even if it is sort of a port. For the money, this is worth it. Too bad you can't turn down the music. At the same time, Fast Beat has a nice feel to the game. Unlike other games that try and make themselves so different it pulls away from the original feel of an arcade, Fast Beat keeps that feeling. Even if I got bored with it really quickly, I still went back for more later. It's got some really nice visuals, and the racing is quite intense. For small 2-minute races, it's worth picking up and playing from now and then. And if it does get updated to reach the point of Midnight Wangan, then I'll definitely be letting everyone know. So there are a few more games, and look, I'd rather not stay away from comments like, oh, but wasn't there a port on the PS2, and what about the Initial D arcade game? And yes, there was, but it doesn't have that feel or really the arcade type aspect I'm trying to explain through the video. Even though some would hail they were close or even better than Midnight Wangan, in my opinion, they aren't holding the same style. Games like Grid or Need for Speed, even though I play them, they are not what the arcade feels like. The story and availability that an arcade gives is more of a pick up and play for a few races, while Need for Speed feels like it's trying to please too many people, with drifting, sprints, circuits, and other types of events throughout the game. The older ones really had that JDM feel. Underground 2 and Carbon are still amazing. The realism of Grid does put it very high in my books of suggested games, but it doesn't focus on that feeling of the arcade. I wouldn't say RiffRacer shows off that Wangan feeling, but it captures the arcade point feeling better than any other game on Steam I've found. And yeah, there are some JDM and drift games around too. Car X Drift Racing Online, Drift Street Japan, High Octane Drifting, just to name a few. They are trying to be their own thing, and that's okay, everyone can be their own. But for me, the joy of going to an arcade and seeing that game and such an audience and community, it really puts it into perspective. Even the JDM meets that I go to, people know about it. But for me, Wangan will always be a classic in the Japanese arcade games.